Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on another episode of The BAM with Lori and Jenny. Today, we have an amazing guest. She's a super badass mom. She's my neighbor. She's a very good friend, and she has an amazing journey we're going to chat about today. She's a counselor. She's a world traveler. She's lived in Spain for a year with her family. She's also a little bit of a TV star. We'll talk about that later in the show. So, Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. We're very excited to have you. And I know we're going to cover all the things, but I will say that Spain is definitely one that I want to make sure we hit on. Do you want to tell us first a little about your journey, how you became a counselor, what inspired you to do so, and tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that? Yeah. So I have always loved sort of mentoring type of things. Even in high school, I was the captain for my soccer team. And I feel like I just always loved that relationship of mentor mentee. And so I was working at CU for a while and mentoring college students. And I was like, I just am wanting to take this to the next level. There were a lot of times where I couldn't finish the work I was doing, the help I was offering, because I wasn't a professional. I was like, I don't know how to help you anymore from here. I decided after we had kids that I would go back to school, just the way that things played out in my motherhood journey. So, yeah, I went back to school. I think, especially talking about badass moms, I'm like, I got my master's degree with a 1.5-year-old and 3.5-year-old. So I'd say that's pretty
I did the
badass.
same.
That is super
I
badass.
did the
Yeah,
same. And I look at pictures now and I am like, how the fuck did I do that? I
it
don't know
is.
how I did it.
I didn't sleep, that's for sure. But I already wasn't sleeping anyways. So what's the difference,
Well, thank God for my husband. I remember so many nights just being late on the computer just because I was working, getting my master's, and then had two little
Oh,
kids. I'm like, I don't know how I did it. So good
yeah.
for you.
But here we are.
So, Kelsey, with your master's, so you graduated and you got your undergrad in what business, right?
Yeah, my undergrad was, it's called International Spanish for the Professions, which is a very random major that CU has. But it's a business and Spanish double degree.
Okay. And so when you went back to get your master's, that's when you knew you were kind of dialing the counseling.
Yeah. I thought I was going to go into law or international business because I spoke Spanish. I mean, I do still speak Spanish, but I thought I'd go that route. And right after college, I started with law. Was not my vibe at all. I don't know why I ever thought it would be. And then I started working, doing some business stuff, at CU. And I loved that. I loved mentoring. And it was like through the mentoring that I was doing with business things that it led me to, yeah, to moving on to counseling.
Were you in the Leads program?
Yeah, I was kind of actually all over the program, like different programs. It was through local church I was working at.
Okay.
We were partnered with CU. It was
Okay.
through a religious community.
So in the counseling, so you decided that was kind of the path you were going to go on. And after you got your master's, and you continued your education by becoming a certified counselor, coach,
Yeah.
therapist.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
how did you decide, because you have a specialty, tell us about that and how you decided that specific path.
Yeah. So my official title is licensed professional counselor. So therapist, counselor, there's different paths you can go, but my technical title is counselor, although we often say we do therapy. But yeah, so I started to go down my route. Like I would say my specialty is in moms, especially. I did work with a lot of moms, not that I disclude dads. I just think it's a completely different experience and one that I'm really passionate about in general. And so I work with a lot of moms, perinatal, postpartum, or anywhere in their parenting journey. I do work with some teens, which I love as well. And then I do a lot of work with parent coaching. And I have this really cool dynamic where I'll meet with a teen and their parent. So I'll do parent coaching while the teen is technically my client. So I can't disclose anything, but I can really help the parents actually help their kids. It feels like a really fun dynamic. So I usually do 5 sessions with my client first, and then I do a lot of parent coaching. And I'm also what's the word? Words this
A
morning.
badass mom. You are also a badass.
I'm also a badass mom. I'm also trained in EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which is a trauma therapy. The SSP, all the little acronyms. The Safe and Sound Protocol, which is a nervous system regulation tool. And then I'm in the process right now of doing my IFS training, which is internal family systems, which is another trauma model. It's awesome. So all that to say, I do a lot of trauma work, a lot of work with parents who want to parent differently from from how the way that they were parented, or they feel really ill-equipped and helping them parent. Yeah.
But isn't it crazy? Like when you become a parent, you just realize like the things you want to emulate and the things that
Yeah.
you're like, I do not. And what's so funny is I was actually having this conversation with some friends of mine because we were talking about a friend we have who was not parented. Her parents were
Yeah.
non-existent. And she has
Yep.
gone so far the other direction that she is like in her, like moving to a different location because her daughter after college moved to, which I know
Yeah.
people do, but it's just so interesting to see that dynamic and how you decide how you want to parent.
Honestly, it's a great segue into what else I do. So the course that I run, Becoming Mama, that's the whole purpose of it, is to choose who you want to be as a parent. I feel like our generation is very unique, where a lot of us are actually making choices for the way that we want to live versus just doing the status quo. And I say our generations, I mean, I think Gen X, and I mean, I think boomers kind of started
I
it
like that
for, at
we
least
put
for the
you I
later.
like that you just classified Jenny and I in your
I
joint
know.
generation.
I
Yeah.
know. I love you.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it started with like the later boomers, and then Gen X really took it on. Millennials are taking it on. It's like we're all choosing the lives we want to live versus just continuing forward with whatever our parents were doing. And yeah, with Becoming Mama, that's the whole purpose of the course, is us sort of laying out a lot of information, a lot of choices that you can make, and then them making it, running them through how to make those choices. And because a lot of them are really difficult choices. Like, where do you live? How do you raise your kids? We're all faced with these really, really difficult questions of how to raise our own kids, right? And they come out of the womb like their own people too, which I think is its own adventure. You're like, I'm going to have this kind of kid. And then they come out and you're like, that's not my kid.
Right.
But
Where did they come
yeah,
from?
yeah, I know. I know.
So
Yeah.
with with the course you offer, is this something you offer every quarter, or is it an ongoing course?
Yeah, so we're actually switching it right now as we speak. So we've had it what we call open close. So we open it, we close it, we open it, we close it, and we're transitioning it to evergreen, which just means it's always open. But what we have been doing, the reason why we did open close is because we run the course live for the first month, and then people can do the module from there on their own at their own pace. And we're still going to do that. We're just going to keep it evergreen and teach it like 3 different times a year. So regardless of where they're at, they could just do it on their own. I think we enjoy my business partner, Stephanie, and I, we just enjoy the personal aspect of actually getting to know these participants. It makes the connection that we have with them actually makes the course come to life in a lot of ways that it wouldn't otherwise. And so we just appreciate that. And I think being a therapist, I'm used to the face-to-face getting to actually know these people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One of the things that I love about the people we get to talk to is those hard pivots. Like you think you're going
Yeah.
down a path and then all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm actually going to go this direction. And it's not easy. Like you make it sound so easy, but you
Oh my
went back
gosh,
to
no.
school, you changed your whole career path. Did you have like an epiphany or was it like a slow burn? Like, how did that decision happen?
So I always knew it was something I wanted to do. I would
Yeah.
say truly since I was even in undergrad, I had taken some psych classes and I was debating between business and psych, and I just decided to go business. I think just in the family I was raised in too, it's like everybody was business people. So I was like, well, I don't even know. I don't have anybody ahead of me doing counseling. So I'm just going to go business. Did that. And then it was really quickly after graduating that I think I want to do that. But I think for me too, and that was when I started my own counseling journey, was at like 22. And so when I was in counseling, I was like, oh, I could totally see myself doing this. But I also think part of me was I wouldn't want to see at that point, I don't want to see a 24-year-old counselor. I want to see somebody who's ahead of me. So I think I didn't feel like I needed to sprint and do all of the education and start that journey yet. So, yeah, at that point I was like, I think I'll do this, but I just not yet. I thought that I actually did it in the way that even at 22 I thought I would, where maybe I'll like get married and have kids and it'll be like a second career type thing. Has been a more developed career for me than my first career was anyways.
What did it take to get your master's when you went back to school?
Yeah, so I did an adult program, essentially meaning it was full time for 2.5 years. So I had 1 week off at Christmas time, like holiday time, 1 week off in July.
So
Otherwise,
you
I was
never
in
came out of your
school.
house, no.
That's how it felt. But the cool way that the program that I did was it was one class every 8 weeks. So I
Yeah.
actually didn't have to take multiple classes at a time. So I loved my program. So that was really unique for that. But yeah, I just kind of crushed it and crushed my hours. And so I've been working full time and been fully licensed for like 5 years now.
All right, let's transition and talk about Spain. So
Great.
this is something I'm super jealous about because I would love to just uproot my family and go live in a foreign country for a year, and Kelsey actually
It's
did it.
not possible for everyone. So
It's
it's a
not,
lot.
but I love to vicariously live through your story, and I want you to share it with others. Leading up to it, what you were thought you were going to, experience versus the reality of when you got there, and you
Yeah.
were
Yep.
there for a full year, and kind of give us a little bit of background and how that all came to fruition.
The practical
Yes.
stuff like health insurance, like what'd you do for all that kind of I'd
Oh
love
my
to know about
gosh.
that.
So I would say the process started New Year's 2021. It was 2.5 years before we moved that we were like, yeah, because it was basically during COVID. We were like, we can't go anywhere. So we would just, my husband has a VR. So we would put on the VR and we would like travel. It was actually super fun. It was a really great way to avoid all of the COVID, you can't go anywhere stuff. So we were going different places, and I studied abroad in Spain, in Sevilla, back, in college. Uh, and I always wanted to go back to Spain. I think one unique part of Spain, and if you get to be in Europe, but it's warmer, it's cheaper. Yeah, they speak Spanish, which I spoke Spanish. So it was a shoe-in for me of wanting to go to Spain. And my husband had never really spent too much time in Europe. When we started to think of the idea of what if we made this happen, so we're on VR, we're traveling, and we started talking about it. And then that next New Year's, my business partner, my and friend, we were all hanging out, and basically we started talking about like, hey, we're like actually looking at this. Like we are Googling visas, and we're looking at all the things like how do we get there? And yeah, and she studied abroad with me. We studied in the same place at the same time, and she was like, wait, I want to do that too. And so we started doing it together, and it just sort of actually all happened. So I feel like one of the coolest things that makes our trip unique is that I went with my business partner and best friend. And I feel like what was so cool about it is because there was 4 adults, we got to share a lot of the what do we do load. So we basically like instantly made a ongoing sheet of, okay, who's looking at visas, who's looking at insurance, who's looking at all the things, and we would like sign them. So that worked out really nicely because again, 4 adults doing something versus 2. And it helped us be accountable. So when we put real wheels to it was a year and a half before we left. And yeah, we called an attorney. What about taxes? And it was basically we figured out if we do 6 months of this year and 6 months of next year, we don't have to pay taxes. Okay, if we stay under 180 days of each calendar year, we don't have to pay their taxes, which is a big thing, at least for Spain, because they have really high taxes. Kind of why we chose the timing for when we left and when we went. And then, yeah, we just started researching where we wanted to go. We did a little trip in November, so it was about 9 months before we left to decide officially which city we would go to. So we decided on Granada, which is where the Alhambra is, a really big Moorish palace. It's a really beautiful, quaint, picturesque city. And I think a big thing for us, because we live in the burbs of Boulder, I didn't want to go all the way full send to Barcelona or Madrid. It felt like a huge ask of my kids. Like this is already a huge ask of them in general. So a smaller city that's really accessible by foot, accessible by buses, things like that felt better for us. And then I had a particular love for the south of Spain because that's where I studied abroad. So that's kind of why we decided that. It's a similar size for those of you in, the Colorado, Boulder, Denver area. It's a really similar size to Boulder. And so you really can get around. I mean, of course, it would be nicer if you have a car, but like you can totally get around by foot and bus and all that. And of course, it's in Europe. So there's way better accessible transportations.
At the time when you were in Spain, how old were your boys and how old were your friends' children?
Yeah. So when we moved, my boys were almost 6 and almost 8. So
Okay.
they turned 6 and 8 while we were there. So going into kindergarten and going into second grade. And then my business partner, best friend, like I'll just call her Stephanie from here on out. Stephanie kids were 3 when we moved, 3.5. Yeah.
So they didn't
they
go to
were really
school.
little.
So
They did
experience.
start actually first year of preschool when we got there. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and Spain, that's a big part of it too, is Spain has free preschool. So, they're not spending 40 grand a year because they have twins too. It was pretty amazing. And actually they've ended up staying. They're starting their 3rd year now.
Ooh.
Yeah, they've stayed. So they're going to come back for their daughter's first grade year, but this coming year is kindergarten for their girls, and they're going to stay because
Yeah.
our visa was for 3 years. We ended up getting the digital nomad visa. We were looking between the non-lucrative, which means you cannot work. A lot of people do, just so you know. They get the
Yeah.
non-lucrative and then they work anyways. But then they have a digital nomad visa that is 3 years, and you can reapply for it. But when you get it, it's a 3-year visa, and yeah, you can work from there. You do get taxed if you're working there, and you're there for over a year.
What was the biggest surprise and what was the easier than you expected?
The biggest surprise was a mix of how quickly my boys were adapting. I think especially because they were younger. My older son had a slightly harder time. I was pretty surprised by when it was hard for him. I thought that would be like if we went when the boys were in high school, that it would be really difficult for them, right? Pulling them away from friends. But even him already being in school for 2 years with his friends, like that was surprisingly hard, I guess, in the hard surprising sense, how he was already so integrated. Whereas my younger son, because he was starting kindergarten, he didn't have that. And then I think just him being younger, it was shocking to me how quickly he learned Spanish. Although honestly, he's forgotten a ton of it. He just is like, yeah, it's so hard to get them to stick with it. But
But their
anyways,
school was taught in Spanish there. They
so
did not
yeah, we threw
for
them to the wolves. They went
Yeah.
to public school. So people are always like, "Did you go to an international school?" I was like, "No. We sent them to public school. We walked them to school every day through these like quaint little, cobblestone streets, sent them to school. But because we were paying taxes, they got to go to public school and they got to have a one-on-one tutor that was with them. Yeah, we threw them to the wolves, poor guys, but they figured it out.
I was just thinking about these kids that come to school that don't know anybody, that don't know the language, and I can't the amount of probably have for people that are coming to the US.
Absolutely. Both, I always say it's like they know the experience of being the other now.
Mhm.
And whether that's just a different personality or an immigrant or whatever, they actually know what that experience is. And I do think it offers them empathy. And I would say also a lot of resiliency. I mean, it was hard. That's one of the things that I like to share with everyone is I think it sounds super romantic, and it is in a lot of ways. We got to travel all over Europe. Our kids got experiences that the first time they ever played golf was at St. Andrews. We went to the we went to the Olympics. Like I'm like, these kids are so spoiled.
Yeah.
And also, it's really hard. I mean, by mid-October when they had been in school for a couple months, they were like, so like we're staying, like we're still doing this. This is so
vacation's not
hard.
over. Can we go home
Vacation,
now?
yeah, seriously. It's like this is hard. And so, of course, there's a million romantic, beautiful parts of it, but I think that's one of the surprising things is how difficult it was, and I thought we'd be settled in earlier than we were. And I would say, especially because of all the Spanish red tape, that's where the term red tape comes from, is from Spain.
Really?
FYI. Yes, because they would like put a red in the law, they put a red line where they're pausing because they love their vacations and they just take so much time off. So everything takes a million years there. So by the time we finally had everything settled was March and we were moving back in June. So it was such a nightmare in that way. Everything just took forever. But regardless of that, we were having tons of fun. And it wasn't like we were living there illegally or something. It just was like, okay, we have another thing we have to sign, another thing we have to do. And so all that to say, I think the romance, of course, is amazing, but it is surprisingly hard to move somewhere.
Yeah.
So socially, I have a question. Obviously, you and Tyler are very social and love to go out and hang out with friends. Was it hard for you both to meet new people, or did you find that easy?
Yeah. So I speak Spanish. Tyler has high school ability to speak Spanish. So he quickly got integrated at the Irish pub because he was like, I need friends. And there's a really big expat immigrant community there. And so it was really cool because when we would go to the pub, we would meet people. So I feel like for Tyler to actually have an outlet of speaking English
Yeah.
and not having to always speak, like Donde style baño.
Yeah.
It's like he could actually have real friendships. Then I would say I was kind of in between where it was really nice to have those friendships. And I was really trying to integrate and speak Spanish and get to know families. So it being the kindergarten year, it was cool because a lot of the families didn't know each other either. So I felt we could just be in the mix of that. It was different for my older son's group because they were, in the second grade. So they'd already been there a few years. We did make some really good friends and We still keep in touch with them, which is really fun. We have actually like quite a few friends. I'm kind of surprised how many friends we still keep in touch with, considering it's a year, right? Like a year, I mean, in kid terms is a lot, but in adult terms, it's really not that much,
Yeah.
especially with how busy life is. So, but we worked really hard and put ourselves out there a lot. And one of the big things we've learned is culturally, it's very ideal to be out of your comfort zone, right? As Americans, especially, I think that's a big thing. And we were out of our comfort zone for, I would say, at least a year and a half, especially with like moving out of our house and all of that. And I would say there's something so beautiful about the comfort zone too. I think it's both, right? It's not a replacement, but there's something really beautiful about developing deep community and having people be friends for long periods of time. Yeah, just I guess the safety that comes with the comfort zone it's not a bad thing, right? I feel like in a lot of ways in my life, I've sort of demonized the comfortable. Even in a lot of ways, I think demonized the US in the sense of
Sure.
like, because it's mine, right? It's like, oh, like I hate this part of it or I hate, but one really unique thing about it after living in Spain is we're not really afraid of failure because everyone fails. Everyone
Yeah.
tries a podcast, right? And it doesn't actually take off, for example. There's lots of that, but that's actually really normal here that, okay, we'll try the next thing and that's really fine. In Spain, it's a socialist democracy. So it's
Yeah.
kind of an in between, right? People don't try new things. Hundreds of years of this has been our family's
Really?
restaurant and it's just you just do that. It's just what you do. Or yeah, it's just really fascinating. It's not that they don't have a strong work ethic. It's more of the idea that you would just try something different is so bizarre. We were a science experiment. They're like, you moved here with your family. Like, what are you doing here? This is so like, do you hate the US? Is that why you're here? No, we just wanted this experience with our kids. There's like beautiful and, different. Like it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just really cool to see the unique differences and for us to come back and be like, the comfortable is actually kind of nice sometimes. Like it's not
Yeah.
all bad.
One thing you said that hit me. So my daughter, she moved to Alaska after college graduation.
Mhm.
And we were having a conversation one day and she's like, and she has a great group of friends there. But one day she goes, I just miss everybody already knowing me, like
Mhm.
knowing my history. And there is something so comforting about getting together with old friends that have known
Yeah.
you forever. And you don't have to tell your backstory. She was on her best behavior with new friends, right? Like they had all the things. Yeah.
What do they say? Like you're being your best version of your pretend version of yourself or something.
Yeah.
I forgot what the
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we underestimate that a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So my question after your experience, what is one thing you might have done differently knowing what you know now?
Good
Or
question.
nothing, right? It's hard because you're like, well, that would change everything. But
Oh, that's a great question. There's very little I would change, to be honest. I think, gosh, like, I'm having a really hard time thinking of anything that I would change. I think I would just maybe prepare the boys more for the difficult. I think I prepared them for the difference, like if this is going to be different, but I don't think I prepared them enough for the difficult. And I had been, studying abroad. It was super hard. I mean, I would say it was the first 2 months. I mean, I remember I became friends with Stephanie there. And we had another one of our best friends that was with us too. So we even, I would say, had like a little crew that knew us, spoke our language, all of that. But it's really hard to constantly have to put yourself out there and to be the other. It's really difficult. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for immigrants here in the US because of it, because it's like, man, it is just so hard to be different culturally. So I think there was a few things that I wish I would have prepared them for. I mean, it is what it is, and they're very resilient because of it. So, and flexible. They're so flexible now. I feel like that has
Like
been one of the
that.
coolest things to see is how flexible they are. They're just a lot more and Lori knows my older son. He is not the most flexible person. It is like but he is far more flexible than he used to be.
Well, you're dying to hear about uh, the show you were on.
Kelsey's a TV star who was on International House Hunters. So
Yep.
we will make sure to put the link in the notes for that. But tell us how that happened. I'm such an HGTV like nerd. And when she said she
Yeah.
was on that show, I was like, oh my God. So it was awesome.
I know, I
But
can't wait to watch the episode.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. So
So
yeah,
talk
so
about
how
that.
it happened was because Stephanie has I think like 9 books so far. So I know we'll kind of chat about that some more. She's well known on the internet far more than me. So she had reached out to HGTV and said, "Hey, my friend and I are moving to Spain. Would you guys want to do something for the two of us? Like it's a unique situation."
Yeah.
And they reached back out and were like, well, we can't really change the way we do 30-minute episodes, but we'll do it for both of you if you guys want to both be on it. So yeah, so we set it up and it was so funny because it was record rains in Spain when it was our week. Crazy. I don't even know if you guys heard about it, but in Valencia there was crazy floods. We didn't have any rain, any snow. It was perfect weather all year except for our week. So the funny thing of our episode is like there's just rain. I mean, it looks cute, but it's like it's just so funny. But then their week looks like it's like the middle of summer. We were 1 week apart from like when we videoed it. So hers came out in the fall. It was super fun. The crew that does it in Spain was like all best friends. So it just felt like we like instantly were in their cute little family and we just had a ton of fun. You'll see the house we got to live in there. It's adorable little flat that was right in the middle of town. It was amazing. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Also, though, what's so funny is I had no idea that we didn't know for a long time if we'd actually end up getting on it. And in my mind, my husband is a lot more, I'm very social, very extroverted. He's social and extroverted, but he's more introverted, I guess what I say. He's social but introverted. Yeah. And I kind of thought because Stephanie did all the reaching out, I kind of thought he would be like a little apprehensive. Ooh, I might get out of this just because he's going to be apprehensive because I was nervous about it. I don't know. I've never been on TV. That sounds terrifying. I don't know. So anyways, I thought he would be more apprehensive. Once we heard we could do it, he was like, oh yes, let's totally do it. Dang it. I'm so nervous now. But it was super fun. Although we have to wear really bright colors. I don't typically wear a lot of bright colors. Yes. And so they went and bought us different clothes and I do not like what they picked out. I think they're
They
so
bought
dorky.
your clothes for you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. They were, well, yeah. And the guy told Tyler that one of the video guys, super British, love him. And he was like, Tyler, you're so butch. Like, you just look so butch all the time. All you have are all these like mountain men colors.
Yeah.
Like, we need to find you something that doesn't look like this. So we both look a little Easter eggy. But
I'll have to rewatch it now, knowing that you didn't actually choose your outfit.
I know. No.
Kelsey, how long did it take to actually film? I think a lot of people think, oh, they do this in a day, but it takes a couple days.
No,
right?
it was like 4 full days, start of the day to end of the day. We got paid like $2,000 each. So
Really?
we really made it now. I know, I didn't know either. So we got paid and we got room and board. They pay for a bunch of stuff all week, which was pretty cool. I had no idea going into it that we would get paid, not just like paying for meals and stuff.
Right.
So but it was really fun. And I feel like the biggest thing for us is it feels like this cute little capstone we're going to have forever to show our kids.
So cool.
This is where we lived. And
now what does your husband do for work? So you were both able to work from Spain?
Yeah. So he sells real estate. So obviously he couldn't sell real estate while we were there, but he also does investment projects like development real estate.
Okay.
So he kept up on those projects and then he does some sort of like day trading type stuff too.
Okay.
So he got to keep up on all of that. All my clients were all virtual.
Yeah, the time difference then.
The time difference was so bizarre. So yeah, I would work 3 days a week and I would usually work like, so 2 p.m. is like 6 a.m. here. And I take early clients here too. I'm a morning person. So I would take clients early. So I would work like 2. And then I would usually take off a few hours to be with the boys in the evening because they would get off of school and come home. And so I would take a couple hours off to be with them. And then I would work again in the evening until like 11 p.m.
We have to figure out different ways of working. And I love that you do that. And it's cool because you have a job that allows that. But I work in HR. I'm just seeing people want different things. And 8 to 5 job is not working for people, but that's still the way we're structured. So what are you seeing with the people that you're working with? Like what kinds of issues are popping up? Are you seeing different generation? Like, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I would say a lot of what I'm seeing as far as I'm disquieted with how my life is going
Yeah.
is definitely the like 9 to 5 grind where this is just too much. How do I even, for my clients who are more in their 20s, they're like, how do I even date? I'm so white.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, I would say pre-COVID, it was all kind of moving in this way. But I think what happened with COVID for a lot of people is they ended up, and I'm starting to see a lot, what I would say now is like COVID trauma,
Yeah.
where it's been long enough away that people are like, oh, this isn't going away now. And a lot of that has to do with social stuff of, yeah, like I'm lonely still and I didn't know I would still be lonely
Yeah.
or things like that, right? But I think a lot of companies too were pulling people back into the office, right? Partially because we've all been away. But I think in some ways we've almost moved away from where we were like where we were headed pre-COVID of we can just work from home and we can be more successful. And you would think, I mean, especially with the way that how the 9 to 5 structure was created in the Industrial Revolution, it's like it actually doesn't make sense
It doesn't.
with how much technology we have now,
Yeah.
and especially being now in the AI generation, it does not make sense that we have to work 40-hour weeks. It really just doesn't. It means we're overproducing.
Yeah.
And I think especially talking about living in Spain, the beauty of there, everyone, I mean, other than restaurants, everyone takes all of August off. It is the assumption in Europe you are taking August off and you are not going to get responded to. But
I
because
know.
everyone does it, nobody's like, they're not
Yeah.
responding to me.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing it. So, okay, we're just not going to work. If you just plan on that, everyone's so
Yeah.
rejuvenated by it and always talking about what they did last summer, what they're doing this summer.
Their normal day too, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, like, they're very casual, right? And did they take
Oh,
a break
yeah.
too? Like, did they do
Yeah. I think one of the coolest parts of Spain is I had every single meal with my kids every day.
Yeah.
School doesn't start till 9 and then they go to school from 9 to 2 and then they don't do lunch at school. So you come home and it's a late lunch, right? So it's 2:30 by the time your kids are eating. They have a snack, of course, but so we would have lunch and that's usually I would work till about 4. So or I would work if I wasn't taking morning clients. Basically every single meal together the whole year. And then they would do extracurriculars in the afternoon for a few hours and then come back and we'd do a later dinner and all of that.
well, to say dinner's at, like,
Yeah.
10 o'clock there, right? 10, I mean,
Oh, yeah. I
10:30, like,
mean,
that's very
restaurants, like the geriatric hour is 8:30 at a
Yeah.
restaurant.
We
That's the like family hour, and
we
that's like
were
8:30. It's crazy. It's
we were in
crazy.
Italy. It was Italy, not Spain, but I was like, I think it was 6 o'clock and so hungry. And we're looking
So
at the window
hungry.
like we're the first ones there.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
that's
I mean, in
American.
Spain, they just don't they're just not even open. Like, not even like, it's like, they're like, "No," like and especially in the middle of the summer, it makes sense because when you're in the south of Spain in the middle of the summer, I mean, I've never been so hot in my entire life. I mean, it was
Yeah.
108 until,
Oh my
6
gosh.
PM. So hot. I mean, you're just so yeah, it was so
Is it
hot.
humid too?
Not in Granada, but down by the coast it is, yeah.
I
So
just think my hair would just go
oh,
huge.
yeah. Huge, huge hair.
it's
Huge
so
hair.
awesome.
But
So
yeah.
let's circle back to now. So you have a book that you co-wrote. So tell us a little bit about the book and, what you dive into in it and how people can get a hold of it.
Yeah. So Becoming Mama is the course, but it's also the title for our book. So the book is really a preamble to the course. It's really for that. It's a reflective journal of I think I want to be a mom, but here's my hiccup. And we have each section has a letter that, so for example, one section is on body image. And if I have a kid, my body's going to change, especially if I'm carrying the kid, right? How do I handle all of that, right? And so the letter is sort of, I would say, our reflection, but teaching moment on it. And then the reflective questions are for them to spend time kind of getting to know, yeah, but what do I need to wrestle with before I become a parent and actually step into it. And then the course is really, I would say, kind of the setting you up. You've already decided you're going to do it. And you're either in the like timing phase of figuring out when you're going to start that, actually trying and pregnancy. We have a section on it too that's if you're going through an adoptive or surrogacy route, like not if you're not carrying your own kiddos. So all that is Becoming Mama, and the book will be out sometime, I want to say in like June. Of course, we're sending it to production next week, and so we just got all of the art back for the inside, and it's really beautiful, and it's a book that you're just gonna like want to hold, beautiful and then cover and all of that. So Well, once we have it, I'll send it to you guys so you guys can, put it up
That's so
with
cool.
what it's going to look like. But yeah, so that's sort of the route we're going and where we're headed next. We want to do a young parenting course. There's a lot of information about how to feed and water your new baby, plant.
Like a dog. Like I've heard this. How do you like, take care of a baby? And it's like, how would you take care of a dog? You need to feed them and water them and like know when they need to go to the bathroom.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
and so, but I think like that's not really either of mine or Stephanie's strong point. I'm not a nurse, I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor. So we're skipping ahead to toddler preschool
Yeah.
phase when you actually really start parenting. How do you formulate what matters is how do you create a roadmap for the parent you actually want to be and what you want to teach your kids. I think a lot of parents, and this, I was sharing this earlier, right? We always hear like we don't get a manual. But I also think on top of not getting a manual, we also don't make choices. We just sort of like roll with the punches, which I think is beautiful in its own right. But I think there are times when we wish as parents things were going differently. I'm not saying it's always on us or something, right? Sometimes it's a school situation. A lot of times we don't have control of some of these things, right? So a big thing to me is how do you roll with the punches and how do you make choices as a parent to raise your kid in the way you want to raise them? And I think especially where we're raising our kids now, we consider in the therapy world now, like adulthood is like 25. So we, prolonged adolescence, like it's through college really that we're
Yeah.
raising our kids. And, if your kids are going to college, but still like young 20s, you're raising your kids still. And even if they're not in your house. So all of that to say, how do you actually develop a framework of where you want to point yourself and your kids, right? So that's the next thing we're working on. I would say the thing I'm the most excited about. I love becoming mama and what we've done with all of that. My original thought when Stephanie and I were talking about working together was this is what I care about. And she was like, well, we can't start there. We need to start with like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
beginning part, right? Ideally. So all of that to say, this has been my baby. So I'm super, super stoked on it. And yeah, so we'll kind of do a similar thing where we'll put out the course and then we'll put out the journal just because it feels more natural. That's where we're headed next, which is also really exciting.
It's like an intentionality. I think about it like even in the business context of you've got or just anything in life, right? Having your values, and then that's really like your North Star. And then knowing your intention, and it will help you make decisions. Because
Yeah,
sorry for boomer parents, but I do think that parenting just happened to them,
totally.
we were kind of we were riding in the sidecar. And I feel like very different now, and there's more of an intention around how you want to raise your kids and what kind of humans you want to put out in the world.
I think a lot of Gen X and millennials were not ready for the real world, honestly. I think a lot of us were put out into the world and we were like, I have a lot of friends who like had never done their laundry. And I'm like,
Yeah.
your parents sent you out of the
Yes.
house without knowing how to do laundry. My brain can't compute that. Like that is so unfair. Do you know what I mean?
I
And
do
it's
not do Will's laundry, and he is going to college, so he does like every month. I think come to the point where he has to
Yes.
do his laundry. It's like it's time.
it's like my whole concept as a parent is like I'm raising an adult. So if I'm raising an adult, what I do with a 7 and 9-year-old,
Yeah.
what I do now absolutely matters for 18. And so all of that to say it's like and especially raising men, I will say as a female,
Yeah.
a lot of people I see in my therapy office and friends are not finding their counterpart in the world right
Yeah.
now. And so I feel a very strong sense of I am raising
Yeah.
good men that will be good partners, assuming they want to partner. That is what I'm pointed towards. But if I wasn't intentionally pointed towards that, life would just happen at us,
Absolutely.
And that is what I'm like so deeply passionate about with my work.
I have to share. Okay. So my 20-year-old, so she's in college and she asks for money all the time. And the answer is no, 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 no. She's going to be great in some sort of persuasion in some phase of life, but I want to kill her a lot of the time. Okay, so she called us. She's always asking for an advance on her grocery money, like everything, right? So she called us, I don't know, Friday night and was like, I really want to go to a concert, but I don't have any money. And I was like, oh, that sucks. I know it's hard when you want to go do something. And then she's
You
like,
don't have
then she
money.
started on, I'm leaving here in 2 weeks and I won't get to see my friend, like all the things. And finally, what happened was, and I was hoping my husband would take care of this because I had to run and drop something off and he was continuing to talk to her. And I was like, hoping I'd get back in the car and it would be settled, but no, it was not settled. And so Finally, we landed on, you're going to have to pay us back. But then we hung up the phone and I was so mad. I'm so mad at myself because what I have done, she is not feeling any pain and she is not going to learn this lesson because she's still got the $20. She still got to go to the concert. And it's like,
You should charge your interest, Jenny.
I know. Well, but the thing is, I don't think she computes that. She doesn't even think about that. She wouldn't even care. If I said, you have to pay me back double, she'd be like, that's a problem. That's tomorrow's problem, not today's.
Yeah.
So I was so pissed at myself for doing that because I'm not creating a good human, like an adult. I'm not creating an adult that will be successful in the world. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I see so much of that in the workplace right now. And
Yeah.
that's what leaders are struggling with at companies.
100%.
So anyway, yeah.
It's a tough one. That's
I
tough,
was
right?
part of the problem. And I told my friends the next time that happens, I'm going to text you and be like, okay, I'm struggling. She wants money again. Like, talk me out of this.
Well, and I feel like I feel like one thing I'm thinking about while you're saying that is tell her like, hey, on this date, you're done. She knows it's spoken out into the world, right?
It's not
Of
a
like,
constant negotiation every
it's
time.
not a constant negotiation.
Yeah.
It's like there's no more negotiating.
Yeah.
More negotiating. This will be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's good. I think that's good because next fall, that's the standard. She is not getting. Yeah.
And then it relieves you of the pressure. I think a lot of times too, we feel 18 is when we're raising our kids too, but truly, that is not the truth.
They're
Nor
not
should it be that they're not ready. Like that, like that's the thing. Like it's not the expectation anymore. I think for us, we were more ready at 18. I mean, some of our counterparts were not, but we were more ready at 18. It's just not the same world we're raising our kids
I think
in.
they're emotionally ready at 18. Like that's where I'm constantly reminded is I'm like, they're ready in other respects, academically maybe, but socially, emotionally,
Yeah.
not there. You know, Jenny.
And that is true. I mean, because the brain doesn't finish forming until somewhere, I mean, every person's different, between 22 and 26. Really, they're not even starting adulthood until then. So, because that's when the personality is formulated, right? And so at that point, that's to me is, okay, you're launched. You're actually done. But obviously it looks so different than when they're living in your house and, 9, right? Like where I'm at right now. But it's like at the same point though, it's like, there's still a lot that you can point towards. You don't have to have already had it all figured out, right? If you have that kind of cutoff of like, okay, and then you're done then, it's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I even thought I need to tell her I'm not trying to be mean. This is the reason I'm doing this. I am preparing you to be an adult.
It's actually a kindness you're doing, honestly.
Exactly.
Because at some point, we all need the push. We always talk about flying the coop, and it's, well, mom birds push their babies out. Like a push is not fun.
Sure.
Those poor little birdies are like, oh my gosh, right? It's terrifying. You think of it. And so at some point, like they just need to be pushed. And so we're being actually a kind parent by pushing.
Jenny, you tell her you're pushing her out of the nest. That's what you're helping her do when you won't give her money.
Yeah. Fly, baby bird.
Yep. That's right.
Mama gets her money back.
Right. Exactly. Pay me back. Kelsey, one of the things I love to ask is what are you most proud of with everything you've done? It can be more than one thing, but if you had to look back at your journey so far in life.
That's a big question. I would say one of the things I'm most proud of is rolling. I mean, I'm talking about rolling with the punches, I guess, like in a different context, I guess, here. But I am really proud of how I have wanted things and I've done them. Like Spain is a perfect example. Graduate school is a perfect example. I've wanted these things and I've done them. And I always used to say, and I wrote this in a journal a long time ago, but I wrote, and it's sort of stuck with me my whole life. I wanted a big life, and I've always wanted I've wanted a big life, and a big life to me means rolling with things, doing hard things, even when I'm scared. I used to always joke that I was a very like indoor cat child. Like I played sports, but that was like as scary as my life got because I just was like scared of the world. And at some point in like high school and college and my personal development, I was like, this is stupid. I am not going to get to live the life I want to live if I just stay scared. And so I'm doing it scared, right? So even living in Spain, I was scared. I'm not the bravest. Anyone who knows me is, you're not the bravest person ever. I just did it anyways.
Yeah.
And so, I think just the way I live my life of wanting this big life and then having this big life is, I'm really proud of that. I think I have, I've overcome a lot of challenges and done it anyways. So,
That's a great answer. I love that.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for joining us today, and we really appreciate having you on.
Yes, thank
Loved
you.
it.
So
Thank
nice
you.
meeting you.